What are the 10 best cities to live in? What are the 10 best cities to retire in? What are the 10 best places to go on vacation? Where are the 10 best places to get a hot dog? That's a thing for me, right? I mean, has anybody ever been to Arkansas? Just curious. All right, got one. I missed two. All right, yeah, okay. So here's the big difference. This has nothing to do with the sermon, by the way. Here's the big difference between Arkansas and South Carolina that I realized the moment my dad and I pulled the U-Haul into North Little Rock 33 years ago, or whatever it was now, and that's this. They have no hot dogs. None. There are no hot dog places. In the entire greater Little Rock area, I think there might be one or two places. I finally found another place in April, and it was really good. We have lots of hot dog places. I mean, like, we actually have fewer than we used to, but like before we moved here, I think we had 4 hot dog places in Inman. You know, I mean, Inman, like, I don't know, maybe 3,000 people. We had 4 hot dog places. But in Arkansas, there's no hot dog places, but holy moly, I tell you what they got. They got 1 million donut shops. And I mean, I ain't talking about Krispy Kreme and Dunkin'. I mean, mom and pop family donut shops about every 33 feet. And I mean, all of these donuts are amazing. So I love going to Arkansas for no other reason than, man, there are just so many good donuts. But not a lot of hot dog places. So just so you know. Yeah, I told you I had nothing to do with the sermon, just on my mind. But have you ever seen these lists, 10 best places to live? I mean, they come out every single day. And I was reading an article about it the other day, and it was saying, these lists, they always have, this is why this is the best place to live. This is why, this is the best place to retire, on and on and on. And usually it's things like lower taxes, lower humidity, lower crime rate. There's always, great weather, great entertainment, or great chili, if you're talking about hot dog places. So there's all these things that kind of match that up. A student was talking to his geography teacher, and his geography teacher had lived in Switzerland for a time, and the student said, hey, what was it that you loved? What was the best thing about living in Switzerland? And his teacher said, well, there was a lot of things, and, their flag was a plus, too. If you're listening to this on the podcast later this week, you'll have to Google Switzerland to get that joke. But what if there was more than that? What if there was more than the 10 best places with the lowest taxes and the lowest crime rate and great weather and great flags and great hot dogs? What if there was something more than just the 10 best? What if there was the best of the best? What if there was the ultimate life, the life that truly for each one of us in every different way is kind of beyond our imagination? I mean, better than anything we could dream of. I mean, think of the life you're dreaming of right now. Can you imagine getting it and it actually being better? Is that for real, or is that just a fairy tale? Well, we finish up our summer series today called Total Comfort. And what we've been doing is trying to engage and focus on what it means to experience comfort, even when, and especially when, trouble and grief and danger and things like that come our way. Today's sermon is called The Comfort of More. And we're going to be looking in Psalm 91 today. And what we're going to find in Psalm 91 is this announcement about that ultimate life, the announcement of the best of the best. And what is that announcement? Well, let's find out together. Psalm 91, verse 16. I will satisfy him with a long life. Now, this is not the psalmist speaking for himself. This is the psalmist communicating and relaying the very words of God. So what does God have to say to the psalmist? What is God saying to me, and what is God saying to you? What does God have to say to us? Well, what God says is that he promises any person of any age, from any city, any town, any country, any time, past, present, or future, who loves him first and most, because they have received salvation in Jesus Christ, that person will be satisfied with a long life. Now, does that mean that if you're a Christian, you'll live to be 100 or more? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I guess the argument can be made that if you set apart your mind and body to honor God and don't engage with all the evils of the world, I mean, if you follow all the tips on Instagram for how to take care of your body and take care of your mind, and I don't know, maybe you'll make it a century or more. But getting your gut right, or hitting your protein goal, or becoming a straight-edge pescatarian does not guarantee that you are going to make it to 100 or beyond. In fact, philosopher William Martin Joel sings what? Only the good die young. And yet we know that's not true, right? Because there are times when the young die because of things that are not good. There's no standard, there's no rule when it comes to age and when people die. The reality is sometimes very godly people die young, and ungodly people live a long time. I think I've shared before that maybe one of the reasons there are some ungodly people that live a long time is God's just being gracious. He's giving them time to turn to Christ. That right now around the world, people who are retired might come to saving faith in Jesus Christ before it's too late. But there's no rhyme or reason. There's no standard rule that makes sense, at least to our human minds, about how long everybody lives. So what does this mean when God promises to satisfy the believer with a long life? Well, he's definitely talking about more than just having a lot of birthdays. King Solomon was writing something very similar to the words of God. He was talking about the wisdom of what it means to love God first and most, and maybe more specifically to obey God's commands, and what would happen as we do that. And this is what he said, Proverbs 3, verse 2. For length of days and years of life and peace, they will add to you. Length of days, years of life, and peace. That's what God is offering every millisecond of every day. He is offering that. God is looking down on the world constantly, steadfastly, and saying, this is my beloved Son, Jesus. And in him, I am offering you peace and satisfaction you will find nowhere else. Now, if we're honest, we hear that, and we might think, okay, you got anything else? I mean, can you throw in a tailor-made driver? You know, maybe a new drill, maybe a tennis bracelet or some diamond earrings. Man, a PlayStation 5, God, that would change my life. See, what we do is we hear that and we're tempted to say, man, God, peace and satisfaction. Gosh, that sounds really, really, really good. But, the reality is I got a mortgage. My health hadn't been so good. So I kind of would rather you just heal me and help me inherit a few $1 million. I mean, that's how we think. Not always, but we're tempted, right? But the ultimate offer that God gives is satisfaction and peace, the kind that you cannot find anywhere in the world. And what kind of peace are we talking about? Paul was writing to the church at Rome, and he said this, Romans 5:1, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. What does it mean to really be a Christian? To really be a Christian means that you have peace with God, that things are right between you and God. And the only way for things to be right between you and God is through Jesus. That's how it happens. The peace, the rightness, the righteousness, all of it happens through Jesus. Jesus is God's guarantee of peace. And God's guarantee through Jesus is not a lifetime guarantee. Every single shred of anything that any person ever receives in and through Jesus Christ, especially the love and mercy and grace and power and rescue of God, all of that is an eternal guarantee. It doesn't stop when you die. It keeps going. That's why that is real peace. The best warranty, the best retirement plan, the best plans that you can make of anything in life, the greatest spouse, the most loving kids, the most fantastic world leaders, none of those things can bring this peace. It is a peace that goes beyond anything that we can understand or imagine. We can't figure it out because this peace is so staggering. So if we bring all that together, we come back to the same question. What is God talking about? What does it mean that he will satisfy a believer with long life? Well, in short, when we consider what God has said, we consider who Jesus is, when we consider all of these promises, we can basically say this. It means that Jesus makes every second of life worth living, no matter how many seconds we get. It means that life is worth living no matter how long that life lasts because of Jesus. Now, is it wrong to want to live a long time? No, it's not. In fact, I would say it's one of the most natural things that anybody ever thinks, to live a long life, to enjoy a long life. There's nothing wrong with having that desire. But when your ultimate life is hidden in Christ, when your ultimate life is found in Christ, you can always be satisfied in however God defines long life for you. Alexander McLaren was writing about what this looks like in the life of a believer of any age when death comes near. He said this: "They did not wish to linger longer here, but closed their eyes in peace with no hungry, vain cravings for prolonged life. They had got all out of the world which it could give, and they were contented to have done with it all. And when it comes to a close, they may say, 'It is enough. Let thy servant depart in peace.'" My dad was a strong, successful, accomplished man. And the strongest, most successful, most accomplished thing that I ever saw my father do was to look at the doctor on Thursday, May 11th, 2023, and say, "It's enough. It's enough." He was thankful, grateful for the life that God had given him, the long life in our measurement here on earth, but he was also perfectly ready to go enjoy the satisfying life that Jesus had guaranteed him forever. In other words, in that moment, on that day, my dad's definition of long life changed in his mind in that moment. It was there probably all along, but in that moment, it became real. Where does that change come from? Listen to what the psalmist says. This is what God says to the psalmist next. Verse 16, "I will satisfy him with a long life and show him my salvation." The change happens with God's salvation. What is God's salvation? Well, it's one word: Jesus. Jesus is God's salvation. There's a man named Lazarus, had a sister, Mary, had another sister, Martha, and Jesus was good friends with all three of them. Lazarus got sick and died, and Jesus was going to the house to meet Mary and Martha and comfort them. And as he approached the house, Martha went out to meet him, and we don't know exactly the tone of her voice, but she said, "Jesus, if you would have been here, I don't think, in fact, I'm confident that my brother wouldn't have died." And Jesus said, "Martha, you're going to see your brother again. He will rise again." And Martha said, I know at the resurrection, he's going to rise again. Can't you just hear Martha? I mean, she sounds like she's in a J.G. Wentworth commercial, right? You know, it's like, I know, but I need cash now, you know? And the truth is, we all think that way sometimes, right? Yeah, Jesus, I understand that promise. I understand the promise that I'm going to see him again, but I'd really rather you answer my prayer now. I need to make the team now. I need my grades to be better now. I need a better job now. I need a better house now. I need my air conditioner fixed now. I need my car fixed now. I need my marriage fixed now. I need my rebellious children fixed now. I need my lazy children fixed now. I need my country fixed now. I need my health fixed now. How does Jesus respond to her? John 11, verse 25. I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even if he dies. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. And then Jesus said to Martha, do you believe this? That's a pretty good question. Do you believe that? Do you believe that Jesus is the one and true ultimate resurrection and life? That there is not salvation in being a Republican. There is not salvation in being a Democrat. There is not salvation in being an American. But that salvation only comes through the person of Jesus Christ. That to live past death is only a reality in Jesus. That there aren't 17 reincarnated lives. You're not going to come back as a cow or a goat or whatever else in life. That the reality is you have come face to face with this information, this announcement about Jesus, and rather than look at it and say, that's a cute religious fairy tale, you've said, I don't know what to do with this. This information about Jesus is rattling my mind. It is disrupting my heart. I'm leaving church, and I'm sitting in Rush's, and I'm eating the old fries that are now back again, and I'm going, man, what just happened? Do you believe that Jesus is the resurrection and life? Do you believe that believing in him and relying on him and trusting in him means that in his words, you will never die? My dad was a great guy. He was fantastic, 40 years at his job, same place. Was amazing with money, did a fantastic job caring for his family, could fix anything, could tell me what was wrong with my car if I'm in Germany on a static connection on a phone. But none of those things were the reason my dad could say, it's enough. He was only able to say that because he did believe in the resurrection. He did believe that Jesus is the resurrection and life. If you believe that, then as the title of our sermon says, you have the comfort of more. You have the comfort of knowing that you have been fearfully and wonderfully made. You have the comfort of knowing that you are right now loved by God, not in general common grace ways, but you are loved by God in rescue redeeming ways. You are his child. So no matter how terrible your marriage, your family, your job, your school, your health may be, there is no way for you to ever be alone. If you are loved by God, you will never be alone. That is the comfort of more. You have the comfort of knowing that in his book, according to the psalmist, were written all the days ordained for you before you were even born. You have the comfort of knowing that in Jesus Christ, by the very nature of who he is and what he has done, there will always be more, there will always be more, there will always be more. I'm jokingly, one of my mother's favorite quotes that I've ever heard. She may kill me for saying this morning. Sorry, Mom, I know you're watching. But Mom, one time, this is years ago, she goes, yeah, Daddy and I, we've never been cemetery people. And I just remember going, another line from my mom I don't quite understand right now, you know. But she was like, you know, we don't go to the cemetery. We don't go, we just don't. And I thought, you know, I guess I'm not a cemetery person either. I mean, I guess it's in me. But, you know, this week, for the first time in over 2 years, I went to the cemetery to my dad's marker. And I just remember that moment of thinking, he ain't here. He ain't here. So when we say that there is more in Jesus, it's not a silly fairy tale. It's not like this wishful thinking. The very person of Jesus, the very historical reality of Jesus, what Jesus has accomplished means there is always in Jesus more. No matter what we don't get here, there's always more in Jesus. And someone may say, well, you know, I believe in heaven and I believe in hell and I think I'm truly a Christian, but I don't know, what if all that is in Jesus isn't more? What if heaven's boring? The answer for the question of whether or not heaven is boring is found in the character and nature of God and in the reality that he is infinite. Sam Storms put it this way: he is the one being in the universe of whom it can never be said, that's all there isn't any more. Look, here's what you can say about me. I'm an average preacher. I'm kind of fun. And that's about it. You know, that's about it. You know, there's not a whole lot more, you know. But that is not true of God. He is the only being in the universe that you cannot say, well, that's all there is. You can't say it. Storms goes on. Given enough time and patience, we could eventually count every grain of sand on the shores of earth. I mean, it sounds crazy, but there's a number out there. They're not infinite in number. The same can be said of the stars in the sky. Though there are undoubtedly trillions and trillions of them, they are not limitless or without number. The sand and the stars, somebody may get around to counting them eventually. But God is. God is truly without limit. This means that what can be seen, known, and experienced of God is likewise without limit. There's nothing like that in your life right now. There's nothing like that. Your favorite food, your favorite donut, your favorite hot dog stand, your favorite movie, your favorite actor, your favorite political view, your favorite religious view. They are not limitless. The only thing that is without limit is God himself. Storms goes on. And if our sight, knowledge, and experience never cease, never fully exhaust all there is in him, so too it must be with our enjoyment of all that he is and does. This is beyond our ability to really understand, but we have to really hear it. Your favorite band cannot do this. Your favorite team cannot do this. There is nothing on this planet that can cause you to never stop enjoying except God. The very nature of his character means it is impossible for us not to keep enjoying him. Storm goes on. With each revelation of yet one more facet of his immeasurably complex being comes more joy, more fascination, more excitement, more love, more worship. Listen to those again. More joy, more fascination, more excitement, more love, more worship. There's no vacation that gives you that. There's no amount of money that will give you that. There's no marriage, there's no family, there's no friend, there's no house, there's no car, there's no job, there's no retirement plan, there's no politician, no pastor, no church, no government, no country. There is absolutely nothing that can promise you this type of more infinitely, so that you will never stop growing in your enjoyment of it. Your enjoyment will never cease with God. No one can promise you that, but God can. And God has designed for all of this more, all of the more to happen through Jesus. The satisfying life of salvation that we can live in Jesus right now on the earth as we know it, and also the satisfying life of salvation that will happen once our days on this earth as we know it are done. In other words, the more that comes with Jesus, it really hits a whole nother gear in that moment when you're with the doctor or with someone in your family or a friend, or even just alone with the Lord, and with joy, great unending joy and confidence, you say, it's enough. It's enough. Will you be able to say that? Like, is your heart today just so confident? And look, none of us are going to be perfectly confident, okay? It's all right. We ain't going to have this down to perfection. But I mean, are there some sparks in there? I mean, is there something in you that says, yeah, there is something about my salvation, something about knowing Jesus that makes it okay for me to go. There's going to come a time that I'm just going to say it's enough. In other words, do you have God's salvation that he has provided through Jesus Christ? That salvation by its very nature is the greatest thing in the universe. I say that very unashamedly. By the very nature of what it means to have salvation in Jesus Christ, salvation in Jesus Christ is the greatest thing in the universe. There's nothing else that you will find in life that will ever compare to that. It is the greatest. But here's the thing. Life is hard, right? And in those hard moments, in those confusing moments, in those scary moments, in those frustrating moments, in those angry moments, it can be extremely difficult to kind of live in and enjoy, and sometimes even think about what it means to have long life in the salvation of Jesus. Sarah Walton is a wife and a mom. She's experienced a lot of difficulty like that. Lots of just crazy health problems in her family and with her kids. Listen to just this little bit of description from her. It's now been a decade of navigating devastating neurological and physical illness in our family of 6, along with financial stress brought on by ongoing medical cost. It's been a season of grief and loss that my husband and I could never have anticipated when we took our vows. It's true, right? For those of you who are married, man, how many things have you experienced that you never would have dreamed happened at that cutesy little wedding, right? She goes on. Fighting through chronic pain each day is exhausting. Watching my children battle sickness and struggle to make sense of this broken world can be heart-wrenching. Passing by beautiful homes like the one we once had stirs up sadness over what we've lost. And having to stop myself from chasing after my children in fear of losing my ability to walk because of degenerating ankle bone causes me to grieve the life I always imagined I would have. Can I just say most of us are not living the life we imagined we would have, okay? There's something that you thought would be different, and it's not. You may not have the intensity of what it sounds like Sarah and her family have experienced, but we have a little dream that didn't come true. This is what Sarah says. When suffering leaves you battling despair and hopelessness, when suffering leaves you battling despair and hopeless, convinced that you will never know anything but the pain that aches within you. We've been there. fix your eyes on the truth that Christ is worthy to be trusted because he has shown his love for you on the cross. When I read that Tuesday morning, I wrote over that quote in the top of my page these words: "This is why it would be so hard for me to not be a Christian." Those words just rattled me immediately as I read them. Listen to what she says again. Fix your eyes on the truth that Christ is worthy to be trusted because he has shown his love for you on the cross. We live in a post-Christian world. If you don't know that, wake up. It is where we live. This is a post-Christian world, post-Christian society. So our faith will keep getting harder no matter how many laws we may change. So we live in a world that says, Holland Avenue, cute fairy tale y'all got going on down there. But for me, no matter who can challenge me with a question that I can't answer about the Bible, or a question of something they don't like about Christianity that I can't give them the answer that they want, no matter who comes against me, comes against the church, comes against the gospel, comes against Christianity, there is absolutely nothing that can ever change what Jesus has accomplished on the cross. And if that is true, then that changes everything. So that in my moment of depression, in my moment of disillusionment, in my moment of discouragement, I have something solid. I have something more. I have the comfort of more because the cross is enough. It's enough. Fire away whatever question you want. Try to challenge theology and doctrine. Try to say that Baptists are stupid or Catholic are stupid. Whatever anyone may say, whatever denomination, whatever theology, you must deal with the cross. Do something with that. Do something with the reality that people who hated Jesus and hated Christianity said, yeah, we saw this whole thing play out, and we still can't explain it. When we are suffering, and we will suffer, when things are falling apart, and they will fall apart, when we are disillusioned, discouraged, depressed, and that'll happen. The one thing, dear Christian, we can't shake is the cross. We can't. And why? Because the cross reminds us of the infinite love of God. The cross reminds us that God has promised through Jesus, guaranteed through Jesus, that I will have a long life. Maybe on this earth, maybe not. But when my moment to say it's enough comes, I will have a long life. Not because I'm a great guy, but because Jesus is a great Savior. See, the cross is enough because the infinite love of God is enough. And so what the cross is always saying to me, what the empty tomb is always saying to me, what the existence of the church in 2025 is saying to me, is that God, through Jesus, will always give more. He will always give more. And here's why. Because he is enough. God is enough. And because God is enough, if he's enough for you, and you do believe, then that is total comfort. Let's pray.